everybody, this is Diana from So Very Crafty, and we are here today to make this terrific little mouse pad with wrist support. As you can see, we have an elevated wrist support that will make your mousing absolutely comfortable. I have one of these at work. Now that I've been working from home for so long, I really needed to have one here at home, and of course I wanted to make it pretty, so I chose this fantastic floral pattern that is much more me, and I created this pattern so I could have the wrist rest as well. This is a super simple beginner sewing project that anybody with basic sewing skills can make. This project takes about 10 minutes to make, so we are going to get started. It is a very simple project. I'm going to include the pattern in the comments section below so that everybody can have the pattern. It's a simple pattern to cut out, so I'm not going to cut it out for you here, but you can cut it out yourself from the pattern piece that will be provided to you in the comments section. So let's get started. So what do we need? We need a pattern piece that looks like this. It's just a sort of a modification of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. We are going to need our main fabric, and we're going to cut 2 pieces of this. So we have 2 pieces of our main fabric. We're going to have 2 pieces of Pellon 808. This is a fairly stiff, non-woven interfacing that is going to be nice and smooth and for our mouse pad. The next thing that I did to make my mouse pad a little more comfortable is I added some fusible fleece. It's really up to you if you want to add the fleece. I don't know that you need to necessarily, but I thought it was a good idea, and so I added fusible fleece to my mouse pad as well. The next thing that you are going to need is some of this polyester fiberfill. You don't need very much of this, but this is what's going to fill in for your wrist rest. You just need a little bit of that, and we'll add that at the end. So the first thing that we are going to do with our pattern pieces is, after we've cut out our main pattern piece, we are going to flip them over so that we have wrong sides up, and we are going to fuse our interfacing. If you've never fused interfacing, it's a very simple process. All you have to do is follow the manufacturer's instructions. You will notice, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera here, that there is a shiny side to this interfacing and a not shiny side. The shiny side has glue on it, and we're going to place that shiny side face down onto the wrong side of our fabric. And we're going to start out with our Pellon 808, our stiff interfacing. We are going to go over to the iron, and we are going to, again, following our manufacturer's instructions, we are going to place a hot iron onto the fabric side of our interfacing, and we are going to press so that that glue melts and it fuses this interfacing into the fabric, and we can actually use this as one piece of fabric. You can use a damp cloth and use it on the interfacing side of the fabric, but I prefer actually just to use a steam iron and do it on the fabric side. Once you have fused your Pellon 808 to your 2 pieces of fabric, you are then going to fuse your fusible fleece on top of your Pellon 808. So you're going to have 2 layers of interfacing on your mouse pad. So I'm going to head over to the iron and I'm going to fuse these two pieces of interfacing, and I'm going to come right back and we are going to move on to our next step. Okay, we are back and we have now, instead of 6 pieces of differing fabrics, we have 2, because we have fused our interfacing and our fleece onto our fabric pieces. Now we are simply going to place our fabric pieces right sides together, and we are going to stitch them starting at the bottom corner. You'll see that it's rounded, so we're going to start at the bottom and we are going to stitch all the way around, and we're going to stop 2 inches from the bottom. We need to have this 2-inch gap because that's where our wrist rest is going to be, and we need to have this opening, 1, to turn our project, and 2, so that we can stuff our project wrist rest. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and we are going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we are going to stitch all the way around our project, stopping 2 inches above the bottom corner so that we can turn our project. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we have stitched our project together and now we need to turn it. So we are going to reach inside and we are going to pull the top of our project through the hole that we just left, and we are going to pull it so that we can get the right side out. And this is a little bit of a fidgety project because it's stiff, and that's what we want for our mouse pad. So we are just going to pull this straight through. As you can see, it's going to come right out through that opening, just like that. Now you can see once we start to poke out our corners, we're starting to take shape. We're starting to look a little bit like our mouse pad. And so we have our mouse pad, but we have a hole here on the side. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to press this really well. So I'm going to head over to the iron. I'm just going to press this really well. And while I'm over at the iron, I'm going to measure up 2 inches from the bottom seam. And I'm going to stitch a line right across here. Just right across our mouse pad, because that's going to be the channel where we stuff our stuffing so that we can make our wrist rest. So we're going to press this and stitch a line right across the 2-inch mark for our wrist rest. So I will go over to the iron and to the sewing machine and take care of that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we have now pressed our mouse pad and we have stitched our 2-inch line across the mouse pad itself, and we have created this little tunnel or tube that we are going to insert our fiberfill so that we can create our wrist rest. All we need to do is to take some of our fiberfill and insert it into the tube. Now I have that purple thing that I am going to use to help me to stuff this fiberfill into the opening. Now here is where you're going to want to try out the wrist rest, because if you put too much fiberfill into this, the wrist rest itself will get a little too high and it won't be comfortable for you. So you're going to want to place your hand on here and make sure that you have the right amount of fiberfill inside of your wrist rest so that it's comfortable for you. And you can play around with this until it works for you. And just continue to put the fiberfill in there until it's comfortable for you. You don't want to stuff it too much because it will be too high. When I did the prototype of this, I put as much fiberfill as I could get, and it was way too high, and it actually hurt my wrist. Once I did one that had less fiberfill, it was perfect. And so we are just going to put a little bit of fiberfill in here so that it's nice and squishy and it works perfectly for our wrist. And that's all we're going to do. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is we need to sew up this opening. So we are going to place these seam raw edges together so they're facing each other so they look just like a seam. Now you can either pin or clip these together. It's completely up to you how you want to do it, or you don't have to pin or clip them at all. It doesn't really matter. It really depends upon your experience level here. I'm just going to add a few pins to show you how this works. And we're just going to pin right around here so that we have what appears to be a nice finished seam. And we are going to hand stitch this opening closed using ladder stitch. Or if you're more comfortable, you can use whip stitch. Now I'm not going to show you how to use ladder stitch in this video. There are a lot of videos out there that will teach you how to use ladder stitch, but this pattern that I've chosen for this mouse pad with wrist rest is a little complicated, and so it would be very difficult to demonstrate ladder stitch to you. But ladder stitch is also known as invisible stitch, and so when you stitch it, you won't even know that you have. So definitely go online and type in ladder stitch on YouTube, and you will learn how to do it very quickly and finish off this mouse pad. And once you have sewn it, you will finish this mouse pad with wrist rest and you are finished. I hope you enjoyed this project. This is a super simple beginner sewing project that anybody can do who has a sewing machine and a little bit of materials. This is a fantastic office project. Make your office, spruce it up. And I hope you enjoyed this project. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you want more sewing and crafting projects, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And make one of these simple mouse pads with wrist rest, and it will be a fun and functional little project for your home office or your office at work, or just anywhere that you use your mouse. My husband has one with sailboats on it that he uses with his laptop, so it is a great little project to do. So again, subscribe to my channel and get more sewing and crafting projects from here at So Very Crafty. Thank you. Goodbye.